Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, March 4th. From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. It should be a beautiful day in San Antonio with a high of 75 degrees under partly sunny skies. The countdown is on to April 16th, the deadline to nominate your company for our 2021 Top Workplaces competition. Head over to expressnews.com to participate or call 210-348-3758. Wednesday in South Texas, Starship SN-10 stuck its landing. Then it exploded. We have a closer look at how it happened and why SpaceX fans were encouraged. Also, we have a new Express News newsletter to announce. Head over to expressnews.com to sign up for the docket, delivering our best crime and courts reporting to inboxes. And now let's move on to our top stories for the day. During his lifetime, former Governor Dolph Briscoe Jr. amassed a ranching empire in South Texas only surpassed in acreage by the storied King Ranch. The land and cattle baron assembled more than 600,000 acres stretching over 10 counties and owned some 1,500 cattle, part of a family fortune that Forbes valued at $1.3 billion 6 years ago. Briscoe died at 87 in 2010 in Uvalde, leaving the family business to his 3 children to share equally. But after one died in 2018 at the age of 68, a fight erupted over control over the family business. Hundreds of millions of dollars are at stake in the family feud. Patrick Danner breaks down the legal dispute between Dolph Briscoe III and the late magnate's youngest daughter, Seal Carpenter. The imminent lifting of the state's mask mandate has polarized business owners in San Antonio, causing some to celebrate their freedom from the coronavirus restrictions and others to dread conflicts among patriots and staff provoked by an absence of statewide rules. On Wednesday, the fractured landscape was taking shape a day after Governor Greg Abbott declared that Texas businesses could open at full capacity and make their own decisions on whether to require face coverings starting March 10th. Lucy Cooper's Texas Ice House owner Bronda Smith, a staunch advocate for bars and restaurants throughout the pandemic, said Abbott's order had made her heart so full of joy. Meanwhile, south of downtown, farm table owner Elizabeth Johnson was mulling how she might enact even more safeguards to protect her customers and staff from COVID-19. Find out why one business owner said, quote, "You're always darned if you do and darned if you don't," over at expressnews.com. School and childcare workers are now eligible for COVID-19 vaccines in Texas, a state that had not included them in its priority list for the shots, but was ordered to do so by the Biden administration. Citing the federal directive, the Texas Department of State Health Services said Wednesday that it had notified all COVID-19 vaccine providers that the change was effective immediately. Additionally, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention required retail pharmacies to set aside all unbooked vaccination slots for the exclusive use of teachers, school staff, and child care workers through March 31st. Read what local education leaders said about the move over on our website. For columnist Elena Ayala, President George W. Bush's infamous Mission Accomplished declaration came to mind as Governor Greg Abbott announced the lifting of a statewide mask mandate and the reopening of businesses, no matter what they do, to 100% capacity. Ayala writes, quote, "His decisions will lead to another wave of positive cases, and some will involve more infectious variants. New caseloads will be linked to bar reopenings where green beer will flow for St. Paddy's Day and spring breakers will flood beaches. Easter barbecues will come next, followed by Mother's Day gatherings. Those infections and deaths will land on Abbott's desk, along with the still unknown deaths in February linked to snowstorms, electricity, and water outages, and leaders who opted for greed and deregulation in setting up the state's power grid." Read Elena Ayala's full column over at expressnews.com. Governor Greg Abbott announced Tuesday that he was lifting all COVID-19 restrictions, including mask requirements and capacity limits for restaurants, stores, and other businesses. The move stunned San Antonio officials who called it a premature and dangerous move. We talked to Dr. Jonda Wu, medical director of the San Antonio Metropolitan Health District, about the governor's order. Check out our Q&A over at expressnews.com. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside of your Express News subscription. President Joe Biden slammed Republican Governor Greg Abbott's decision to drop the Texas mask mandate as Neanderthal thinking on Wednesday amid backlash over the governor's move to lift COVID-19 restrictions during a pivotal period in the pandemic. School districts can decide for themselves whether to stick with their anti-coronavirus precautions, according to state education officials on Wednesday, following up on Governor Greg Abbott's decision to drop his statewide order for mask wearing and limited building occupancy. After 4 consecutive days without new coronavirus deaths, 6 people were reported Wednesday to have died from the virus. Another 255 deaths are under investigation. Congressional Democrats are launching an investigation into the Electric Reliability Council of Texas's failure during the winter storms, which members of the House Oversight Committee say they fear will happen again. Alamo Drafthouse Cinemas, the theater chain launched nearly 25 years ago in Austin, sought bankruptcy protection Wednesday after it was unable to overcome challenges brought on by the pandemic. WellMed has closed its COVID-19 vaccine reservation hotline since all appointments for this week have been taken, but it expects to reopen its hotline this Friday once an additional 9,000 doses of the Moderna vaccine have been delivered. A Cibolo man has pleaded guilty in federal court to defrauding at least $150,000 from high school students who were expecting spring break getaways and a senior trip to Disneyland. Business columnist Michael Taylor writes, quote, "Nominations are already open for the craziest frothy finance story of 2021. Strong cases can be made for Bitcoin and Reddit bros GameStop short squeezes. But maybe the uber example of frothy finances this year are special purpose acquisition companies." It appears that Governor Greg Abbott consulted one of his 4 COVID health advisors on rescinding the mask mandate before making the announcement Tuesday afternoon in Lubbock. Races for 2 seats on the Judson Independent School District Board will be decided in the May elections and have attracted 4 candidates after 2 years of repeated turnover. 3 incumbent trustees are running unopposed. Meet the candidates over at expressnews.com. The cluster of buildings comprising the Lone Star Brewery have sat empty since 1996, gathering graffiti and falling into disrepair as nearby neighborhoods have flourished and sections of the Riverwalk remade. Houston-based developer Midway and San Antonio firm Gray Street Partners are now partnering to rehabilitate the former Lone Star Brewery site. The Express News editorial board writes, quote, "Governor Greg Abbott often fails to lead. If hospitals fill up in April, he owns this." Read the editorial over on our website. Of all the prehistoric creatures that once filled the skies, you don't get much bigger or weirder than the Quetzalcoatlus. With its cecina-sized wings and long neck, the Quetzalcoatlus was once the largest known animal to ever take flight. But it also made quite the impression on land, including what's now San Antonio, where it would tread on all 4s and shred its prey with its long pointy beak. Quetzie shares the air at the Whitty Museum with other flying pterosaur on a 30 by 30 foot LCD screen, and a couple of skeletal models of the Quetzalcoatlus grace the Whitty as well. We have a closer look at the Quetzalcoatlus, a true winged wonder, over on our website. Don't worry, tacos, you'll always be king in San Antonio. But right now, the city spotlight is directly on another delectable edible, the fried chicken sandwich. It's undoubtedly having a moment here. So we rounded up 9 of the best in the city for our list over at expressnews.com. Several of San Antonio's performing arts organizations, museums, and other attractions plan to stay the course with COVID-19 safety measures in the wake of Governor Greg Abbott's announcement that state mandates will be lifted on March 10th. A dog trainer shares her tips for getting dogs to ignore doorbells and other noises in the latest Animal Matters column. The Spurs closed the first half with a revenge game against Oklahoma and a chance to head into the All-Star break on a high note. We have a preview of Thursday night's game over at expressnews.com. And that's all for today. This was your Express briefing for Thursday, March 4th. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast inside of your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful day, everyone.